Hello everyone, my name is Clay, and welcome to another special edition of Terminally Nerdy's Indie Impressions, the show where I take a look at non-AAA and independent games, giving you my first impressions after at least 2 hours of gameplay. And today, I'm going to be looking at 11-Bit Studios' new action RPG roguelike Children of Morta. Now, this was given to me through Terminals, so this is a review key. And to give you an example of how much I'm enjoying this game, I started playing it today on the 1st of September at about 6 o'clock in the morning. I played for 4 straight hours, and I want to keep going, but I'm stopping so I can make this review. So, Children of Morta is an isometric action RPG roguelike using some very oddball controls. It kind of feels like a twin-stick shooter in a lot of ways, in that you use WASD to move, and your mouse aims. So you can miss, you have skill shots, you kind of gotta aim. Different characters have different attacks and things. Special abilities, there is leveling and progression for each individual character. And the basic premise of this is you're playing as the Bergsons family. And this family are defenders of the world and protectors of a particular area called Mount Morta. And there's this horrible corruption that has started to spread out from Mount Morta, and it's up to the Bergson family to find out where it's coming from and deal with it. Now, the characters that you play are the family members. You start off with the dad, who is basically like your knight. He has a sword and a shield, and his eldest daughter, who has a bow, and she's your archer. Eventually, and this is all I've unlocked so far, there's 6 playable characters as far as I can tell, and the other 2 I've unlocked is both of the other sons, one of which is basically like a fist fighter monk, and one who is an assassin. He uses 2 knives. The progression of the game is kind of unique in that you have to die to get the story to move forward. See, the premise is the Bergsons will go into this cave system, and then as they go down into these cave systems, they're trying to kind of awaken these spirits to solve some sort of issue. And as you progress through, every time they die, more storyline stuff occurs. Whether it's, like cutscenes involving the new characters joining. So like when you get the assassin character, you have to actually learn about him and why he wants to adventure. When you unlock, the other brother, which is the monk, you're supposed to learn about him. Caveat, though, about this. Apparently, if you complete a dungeon without dying, you can miss things. So, to put this in perspective, it took me about 2.5 hours to finish the first dungeon section, which was 2 floors and then a boss fight. It took me 2.5 hours, multiple attempts, and at one point, after I kept dying to the final boss of that section, the cutscene stopped, and that was kind of like, okay, so that's how this is working. But what I didn't realize is that it's possible to miss a bunch of stuff. Because when I went to the second segment, I took the archer, who I'd gotten pretty good with, her name's Linda, and I one-shot it. I went through all 3 floors and the boss without dying once. And I went from the monk brother not being anywhere in the house to suddenly recovering from being sick. I have no idea where he came from, I have no idea what happened, I have no idea anything about him. I know all about the youngest daughter right now. She's like this fire mage that's trying to build up her abilities. I know about the dad. I know about the grandpa, who's the forge guy. I know about the grandma. I know a bunch of stuff about all these people. Hell, I even got a dog now that I rescued. But I know nothing about Mark because of the way the game works. So, if you decide to play this, purposefully die. You're gonna want to get into fights and get yourself killed over and over and over again until you run out of cutscenes, and then go forward and die in each floor to make sure you're not missing anything. Progression in the dungeons is procedurally generated, and you can kind of tell what's coming based on these doors. So as you wander, you'll come across these regular doors that you just opened, that's fine, but then you'll come across silver and gold shining doors. Silver doors are special challenge rooms. I have, no joke, played Pong against the god of games in one of these rooms. I've done memory puzzles, I've done complete luck puzzles, I've unlocked new progression mechanics, because you unlock progression in your family manor by using the blacksmith to increase every family member's items, and then your grandmother, she does like these mystical things like increasing your money, increasing your XP gain, etc. So you're basically going to want to go into these dungeons and explore every floor and everything. This is also a fine side quest. Gold doors are reward doors, so if you cross a gold door, you're gonna get a reward. These could be basically permanent buffs for the run. So things like, I had one where randomly if I got hit, I would explode, and enemies would just take damage around me. You can also find usable items which are bound to Q by default, and these are new abilities and new spells that you can use to like detonate things. A lot of fun here, and a lot of good difficulty. The game doesn't really feel unfair, except for me, the first boss is brutal. And I'm going to warn you right now, there's a slight spoiler here. I'm going to explain the first boss so you know what you're getting into. Because the second boss is nothing like this at all. The first boss is a spider. It is a spider that only has 2 moves. Well, technically 3, I take it back, it has 3 moves. It has spread web across the entire floor, except in a couple of spots. That webbing will slow you down and cut your movement speed down, but it's nearly impossible to avoid it. Move 2 is it will go up in the air and then drop on your head. And that's basically how it hurts you. And move 3 is it summons adds. It summons at 2 spiders at a time, and it can stack them. It'll just rotate. It'll keep doing it. The problem here is that the 2 spiders it summons constantly also summon adds. So you've got a giant spider summoning 2 spiders, and those 2 spiders each summon 3 more spiders, and those 2 spiders can stack up and just keep summoning spiders. I ended up having to use the knight character to get through it after like an hour of trying, because the archer just doesn't have the AoE to deal with the sheer amount of dudes that just keep coming. It was kind of frustrating. And then I get to the second boss fight and I one-shot the damn thing. So, there you go. But all in all, the game is incredibly interesting. I love the story progression of how the characters interact. They feel like a family because they are a family. And each character has 2 forms of progression. They have a skill tree that plays out to their skills, so like you'll learn new abilities for their left shift, new abilities for control. You can buff their abilities. Like the archer lady, she gets faster. She gets like an arrow rain. Her control ability, which is called a fury ability, everyone gets one. Hers makes her attack speed jacked up, so she just starts firing really fast. Whereas the father, the knight, if you hold down his shift, he starts with his left shift ability. His shift is a shield. He blocks attacks from anywhere, and eventually you can get a thorns thing. So when he's using his shield, enemies hit it, and they take damage. Every character has unique mechanics. Like the assassin, he doesn't really have any stamina effects, like the first 2 do, but he's got frenzy, so the more he attacks, the more he deals damage, the faster he gets. So you can bounce around really quickly and start shredding enemies with him, and every one of these characters feels unique. The second progression, though, is as each character is leveled up, and their skill tree gets higher, they provide a family buff to the entire family. So the archer lady, her first family buff is she just increases the move speed of everybody, including herself. The knight, the father, he increases everyone's health. The assassin, he increases everyone's critical strike chance, and so on. So I'm really curious about the last 2 characters I haven't unlocked. I already know who one of them is. It's clearly going to be a fire mage, which is cute as hell. So I'm really excited to see that one. And I absolutely adore this game, honestly. It's beautiful. Visually, it's really nice looking. The animations are fluid. Everything is real clear. I don't really, even when there's a lot of enemies on screen, I don't really get confused. Musically, I'm not seeing a whole lot. Like, when I'm outside in the house, the music's really nice, but when I'm in the dungeon, it's very, very samey, and I really don't get any kicks out of it. There's also 0 voice act. Well, I take it back. There's a narrator. He narrates everything, but the characters themselves, you can click on them when you're in the house, and they say things, but they don't have voice acting. You just get the narrator. It's a nice touch, though. I do like the narrator. Now, Children of Morta will be available
cannot be
on Steam, and I'm not entirely certain of the release date, honestly, because I've got it prior to that. Oh, here we go. Release date's the 3rd. I should look things up. But September 3rd, so you can pick it up on Steam. I don't know how much it's going to be, but it is well worth it if it's under, I'll say, $30, because this is a very game that you can repeat and play over and over. I've only gotten a couple of the same events, like the Pong game and the puzzle games, but even then, they're short enough events I don't really feel like, I'm wasting a whole lot of time doing them, so... Alright, well, as always, I hope you've enjoyed this quick little look at Children of Morta. I heartily recommend it. I know it's going to be on Steam. I believe it's going to be on Good Old Games because I'm getting emails about it. So I heartily recommend that you purchase this from 11-Bit Studios. If you like this sort of game, you will enjoy it. Just remember, get yourself killed repeatedly. Personally, what I would probably do is die once on each floor, at least, and then die on the boss and just repeatedly die until you run out of cutscenes. That way you don't miss any of the story, because the story is really interesting, both from the perspective of trying to fight the corruption, and from the perspective of finding out about the family members. So, as always, thank you for watching. You can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/terminallynerdy. You can find my website, terminallynerdy.com, where I post all of this and everything else. You can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/termnerdy, patreon.com/terminallynerdy if you want to get these videos early. Let's see, anything else? Not really. Just remember, everybody, treat each other kindly, stay nerdy, and have a great one.